Last year, I put out a video where I went through MLB The Show hot takes. I put out a tweet and a bunch of people replied with their opinions on things in MLB The Show 21, cards they liked, things about the gameplay, whatever that they thought was a hot take that they were in the minority of feeling. So I decided to bring that back again today. I put out a tweet yesterday asking for people's hot takes on MLB The Show 22, and just doing some browsing through the comments already, we have some really interesting things to talk about and discuss with MLB The Show 22, and I'm excited to sit down and chat with you guys and react to all of these different things. Let's get into it. By the way, if you are brand new to the channel and don't know me, my name is Scann. I make MLB The Show content basically daily, so if you have not hit that sub button, make sure you do. We're only a few hundred subs away from 20K, which is really nuts. So if we can get that this week, that would be very dope. Make sure you hit that sub button down below for more MLB The Show content. So here is my tweet. First of all, before I go into it, by a hot take, I mean a take that you think you're in the minority in. I mean, a hot take isn't really, like, by definition anything, but if you think you're, like, the only one that feels a certain way about something, then you may have a hot take on your hands. And if I have not covered everything, make sure you let me know in the comment section what your individual hot take is on MLB The Show, on content, cards, and all that. It'll be fun to just sit down and talk about our gameplay and our cards and all that, how the community feels about that. That's mainly why I do this, so we can kind of catch up with everyone and see how we all feel about MLB The Show right now. So my hot take was that Ketel Marte, he had a 93 overall. I personally think he's very overrated. You hear so many people say how he's like the greatest card ever and everyone loves him, and I personally don't think he's that good. I think Eduardo Escobar's Topps Now card is very much similar to Ketel Marte. You also get some Quirks, which puts him a class above in my opinion. So my take, Ketel Marte is a little bit overrated, and some people may hate me for that take. First one is from Flowy, which I really like this take. The power creep for overalls has been handled very much better this year. Gives people a chance to play with different squads instead of God squads at the end of June. And I agree with this because last year we had some chaos with the cards that we got. It started to happen right around the All-Star break when we got the All-Star Team Affinity. We got guys like DeGrom and Trey Turner and such. And looking back at it, those cards were a big mix of overalls. We had like 95, 96, 97 overalls, I think, in that program. I think there were at least 97 overalls in that program. But we also had a 99 with DeGrom. We had a 98 with Trey Turner. There were a lot of really good cards released at around this point last year. And I kind of felt like people felt like they were in a crutch to use those All-Star game cards. And after that, we had content that were below 97 overall that people were like, why am I going to ever use this card? So I think so far the power creep has been done well. I like how Team Affinity's been handled in a sense where Team Affinity doesn't exist. But now we have these featured programs where you get the occasional 30 cards that are all the same overall. I've liked it so far, personally. And now the content's starting to dial up a bit. It's starting to get good cards, starting to get good upgrades for our team, so I like how things are going so far. Lightning Devers is better than Finest George Brett. Also, Topps Now Eduardo Escobar is the best switch hitter in the game. Hey, listen, I respect the Eduardo Escobar take, but we cannot say Lightning Devers is better than Finest George Brett. That right there is a scorching hot take that I certainly disagree with, my friend. TA not being in a game is a major L. MiniSeasons was fun for one season, but then it got extremely boring. 22 is a huge step backwards for 21 IMO. This is interesting because, like, I think there is some viability to this. Like, I haven't played MiniSeasons much at all myself, but also I understand MiniSeasons isn't really a mode that feels catered to someone like me who likes playing online anyway. I've heard a lot of people enjoy MiniSeasons, but I think there would be value in continuously updating MiniSeasons like we do with Conquest maps and such. Have people play a mini season and get some fresh rewards each time they do it. I think that would help at least a little bit. Also, I know a lot of people don't like the Team Affinity shift, and the reason that's been a big takeaway from this game, you're losing out on a lot of free packs and subs that you got from that. Also, it was just a secondary grind that was going on all the time. Now in all the featured programs, you just kind of grind it for that bit of time and then you get the cards as you go. So there isn't like any separate grind to do other than just your featured programs. Offline, that is. Baseball. Correct! I like that event rewind packs in the game earlier this year, but they should be harder to get than the actual event rewards. Grinding early game events, stash them until they're more expensive used to be a great way to make stubs. Heard a lot of people say this. I think this is something to talk about. We've gotten rewind packs in our events a lot earlier in the year, a lot more frequently I know a lot of people used to take the event rewards, stash them away in their inventory, and sell them off when the collections dropped and all that. My opinion on this, I think it's better off this way. I'd rather the event rewards be overall cheaper. I think there's no benefit in having people stash away cards for stubs. I know it may have been a solid way for some people to make stubs, but I think it's better off that way instead of having people pay 400K for a low diamond card that does not need to be that expensive. And I think they've done a good job of keeping rewind packs and events and all that earlier this game to keep those cards the price they should be. Because for someone who, you know, believes that, you know, you need these cards for collections and all that, everyone should be able to obtain those, having those cards be like super expensive really hurt the collection grind. So like, I'd rather it be this way. The gameplay is actually pretty solid on Hall of Fame and Legend. All-Star sucks, but my games on Legend I've thoroughly enjoyed. I'm telling you guys, if you've not ever played on Legend and Ranked Seasons a consistent bit, you should give it a go. I really think it's fun to play on Legend. Even though sometimes I play like absolute buns and I suck. Also, wow! Brett Beatty's better than Lightning Devers. This one I don't think is that hot of a take. Brett Beatty's actually a nasty card, Genzi. I like it. Here's J Mills. SCS is catering too much to the casual player in MLB Show 22. World Series BR awards too easily accessible. Easily accessible without having to put in the effort to make World Series and go flawless. Thus devaluing the rewards. Thing that's tough about this is I think the rewards are cheap, not because they're easy to come by. I think they're cheap because they aren't wanted. So even when people get the rewards easily, nobody wants to use the Reggie Jackson when there are a bunch of free to earn cards that are right in the same class. Right now, I think that that length of time where the World Series rewards aren't super valuable is probably extended a little bit longer since they're gradually progressing these ranked season rewards. You know, if there were ever like a 99 Trout again like last year in World Series, that reward would definitely be very expensive because people would actually keep that card and want to use them. As of right now, we haven't had rewards that people have wanted to keep, so that is my take. MLB 22 content is actually levels better than MLB 21's content, pacing is so much better, content drops mean more, impact teams more, and they have done much better job of crafting cards to make them all usable in one way or another. I like this take from Chev a lot, because I know a lot of times us content creators especially, we're very critical on content. The main piece of content that I think has been good is the featured programs. I like how they've done them because they've gradually gone up bit by bit. They're significant. They're time interested. So, you know, a new featured program comes out and people are very interested in that for whatever length of time. And then a new one comes out. I think the good thing about the content that's been great is how progressive it's been. It was a slow progression at the start of the year, but we're creeping up bit by bit towards the really good cards. And I think there have been some interesting headliners. There's some interesting bosses, some interesting rewards here and there. I think the point about World Series Flawless Awards have taken a small step back. I think that's just a small side effect. I'd love to see those improved, but I think in the grand scheme of things, content's definitely better. I think one thing Chev can agree with though, like me, I think some of the City Connect programs feel like bleh, they're just kind of thrown out there for the sake of it. But other than that, the other programs we've gotten, like even Tops Now and Lightning programs and all that are solid. Most of the content is very good in this game, which I think is sick. Bobby Miller's doo-doo. Diamond, Polanco, and Escobar, the best middle infielders in the game. Hey, I love the Escobar love. Polanco's actually a sick bat, but man, that defense. And Bobby Miller, I think he really only becomes good on like Hall of Fame Legend difficulty. I use that man in events and he's nearly an automatic loss. I think we need to make World Series inning rewards non-sellable so that actual rewards can maintain value. I've heard people say this about the BR programs and such, and I don't think this is going to help anything because you have to remember they may keep value, but people aren't going to want the cards anyway. If you're going to make them non-sellable, then people aren't going to want to grind the programs. They're not going to grind for a card they aren't going to use. Also, again, just because their value might be higher doesn't mean that's actually good. Like, for example, World Series awards, if you're getting the program done and all that, doesn't mean the card is going to be worth it that people are going to buy at that point. People feel the reward of going 12-0 and getting World Series is gone because how many people get them for free and they sell for cheap. And I get that side of it, but I don't think making the rewards non-sell is a solution. Again, nobody wants to use the cards when there are cards that are virtually the same they can get in other avenues. So I think that would either have to come down to A, you got to make the rewards slightly better so they're actually wanted, where they actually are slightly better than like our program rewards and all that. Or B, you make it so there is a set stub value to doing something like getting World Series or going flawless. So not only do you get the pack, say you get a bunch of vouchers where you can also, you know, get a big stub count, get like 200,000 stubs for making World Series or 200,000 stubs for going flawless. Because both those things are dependent on how valuable the rewards are you get. So if you go 12-0 and you end up with like Paul Goldschmidt, your 12-win run reward, you're not getting that many stubs out of that. But, you know, with World Series, if you're going to get World Series and the players like 40K like they are right now, you're not getting many stubs out of that. Again, remember the World Series awards were expensive for the early part of the program. Gotta remember that. Also, the BR programs have somewhat sustained their prices because I think they are a little bit more wanted this time around. I think it's going to keep going that way. They are going to hold their prices a little bit more as the year goes on because the players are more wanted. But I get this take. I don't hate it. But again, I don't think making them no-sell is a proper solution. There needs to be a max limit for elevation and create teams for online play. 5,000 elevation custom stadiums cause me pain and misery. I don't hate that. Creative players ruin the early part of the game and have no place in online play. Oh, I can't believe this is a hot take, but yeah, I don't like creative players in Diamond Dynasty. I've been saying it for years. They're impossible to balance. They're basically a god tier player, like an end game player. It's a switch hitter with whatever swing you want at whatever position you want. I think they're too OP and they don't really have a place in this game personally. Balks should be on. That right there is a scorching hot take. That would really slow down games if balks were on, because you have to wait for the pitcher to be entirely set, and that would really slow down games. I'm actually gonna disagree with this one. I'm sorry, coach. I feel really warm and toasty inside when my opponent hits a 500-foot homer on a pitch 8 feet off the plate. Okay, Jers. Okay, buddy. All this game needs to essentially be perfect is to have pitcher confidence out of the equation altogether. This is a take that my man Jackie here has said for, I think, at least a year now, easily. Pitcher confidence might be a root of some of our problems with hitting. There's so many moving pieces with trying to hit in this game, from pitcher energy and confidence, potentially the input of the pitch, so like the outcome of pinpoint pitching. Also could be the location of the pitch, the type of hitter tendencies the hitter has, push, pull, all that. And it feels like pitcher confidence is them trying to make it realistic to baseball. But the downside of pitcher confidence, like I said, is like if a pitcher is really confident, it'll make the hitter's PCI smaller, I think. And I don't think that makes much sense. Just because a pitcher has low energy or low stamina, I don't know how that should affect the hitter at all. If anything, it should only affect how the pitches get released out of the hand. Like if a pitcher is low confidence, and maybe have it affect only like the break of the pitches they have or something like that. Should not affect the hitter directly in any way personally. Live series collection is not worth it this year. I am gonna disagree. Hard disagree on that one. Randy Johnson, I think, is the most dominant pitcher I have seen in like any MLB The Show game in like years. So quirks not being explained and active quirks not being on certain cards is a real bummer. 2K's badge system is a much more better example of this kind of implement. I don't know if this is a hot take, but yeah, I think quirks and such need some more explanation and all that. Future stars were extremely underwhelming and ultimately a waste. A little bit of a disagree on that one. Definitely a hot take there. Quick give me hitters with no power and want me to get 3 to 4 hits against the Cardinals. Maybe the best defense in the game. Okay. Someone has experienced pain. May not be in a minority, but I didn't like seeing the same 3 pitchers used every game in the summer circuit. We start Randy in a 3-game series. That should only be the only time you can use him. I think this is an interesting point because with the circuit, there was literally a lot of Randy Johnson, Roy Halladay, Corbin Burns. That was the main 3 starters used. I think a part of that is because live series collections are a class above the other awards, so that's a part of it. But also, yeah, like Randy's such a good pitcher. I think it would be fun for future circuits if you had to make people think about when they use certain pitchers, and they do it in all play versus friends. So energy and all that isn't really in play. It's tough to track the pitchers. I really would love to see if there was a way they could implement the circuit stuff in game, so you actually had like energy and stuff to worry about over the span of your games. Then I think the team management side of things becomes smarter, because, you know, it's not just with MLB The Show, but with any game, with baseball, you got to worry about managing a pitching staff and deciding when you use someone And having the full depth of your team really matter, I think really helps and makes it more entertaining. So I agree with this take, honestly. I hate the pinpoint nerf. I actually think it was better when you could literally dot any pitch in any spot in the game. Made one of the elite players play each other more enjoyable because being able to hit complete dots for basically an art. This is an interesting take because I will say the pinpoint nerf this year has been somewhat tough. I found that with pinpoint, if you're throwing perfect pitches, you're fine, but it's a little bit more difficult to do so. Like, it's so easy to slightly mess up a pinpoint pitch. And the thing with pinpoint that I loved was the user controlling it. And I find this year that there are more pitches that go outside of the perfect area region. Also, I find that if you slightly mess up the pinpoint, the pitch has way higher of a probability of hanging from my experience. Like, so many times I'll try to throw a slider down and away to a righty. I'll be like 0.05 seconds early on the movement down, and then that slider hangs over the heart of the plate. And I think that's probably a little bit too dramatic. Like, I mean, I'm cool with it being a pitch that ends up over the plate, but it shouldn't like hang as much as it does. It feels like if you're not throwing perfect, you're at the risk of throwing the pitch right down the middle, which has made pitching sometimes a little tough. But also that might change once we start to get better pitchers in the game. Mikeschmidt slaps. I'm a Philly fan, yeah, but the close stance has been a turnoff for the general community. The improvement to push hitting, if he gets anything squared up, it's a bomb. Less cheap hits, but he's great. Discovered the same with Gary Carter. Is there an unknown sub community of people that like Gary Carter and Mikeschmidt? Honestly, I'm happy to see that because Mikeschmidt has been someone completely tossed aside for years now in this game. Love how there's not too many OP cards yet, so much variety in everyone's line. It makes the game a lot more fun. I agree with this. There is a good amount of lineup variety in this game. The only time I see less lineup variety is on legend difficulty and ranked at the very top tier of the game because only certain things are prioritized like contact, vision, stuff like that. So that's the only part of the game where I don't see that much lineup variety, but still I feel like there's a lot more than what we've had in previous games. PXP grinds aren't too bad. If it's not crazy a high number, you have to grind like 500 for pitchers. 250, 350 for hitters is perfect. I think the thing that I hear the PXP grind in like the monthly award program and stuff, people don't like it because it's tedious. And with how the monthly award program is set up, you're not doing them all at the same time usually. What goes down is you do all those moments and then you get one or two cards, do their PXP, then you unlock a couple other, do their PXP. I think the setup of the program is more so the problem than the PXP themselves. I think it just makes it so it's more open. Like in years past, you had to do like certain stat things and people would just go offline and do those certain stats with those players. And not much is changing on that front. I would say, yeah, like 500 for pitchers is probably fair. You could play like one legend game offline versus CPU and get that done easily. And this is a good range for hitters too. So I feel like that's pretty solid. I don't hate that take. They need to add managers to the game to boost your squad stats. I think that's another aspect of like chaos and stuff to add to the game. I don't think this adds anything to the game. Like, what's the point of having a manager in a game just to have like the namesake and be, oh, your team's slightly better because of that? I think that would be a little silly personally. I don't know what the benefit of that would be. Not enough weekly content. Headliners don't suffice. We should be getting weekly big dog type packs. I actually like this take because I agree. A lot of the content is reliant on programs and such. Let's be real, for a large majority of people seen that Brewers program this last week, not really exciting. You're only doing it for XP in the featured program or if you just like the jersey. I actually agree with this. I think weekly content overall could be better if they did have like consistent pack drops or something consistently adding players to the game. I think in terms of like the special packs and such, this is what people miss. Having them done regularly in this game. All right, we'll do one or two more before we end here. So MLB's gameplay is leaps and bounds better than other sports games. RNG, while frustrating, is also the reason the gameplay is great, but it's not an esports game in its current form, and if it was, it would not have much broad appeal. See, this one's interesting because I do agree with some of it. I think that overall gameplay is better than other games out there, and I think MLB The Show is the most user input based game out there. Like, usually the player with the better input is gonna win. I think what I find that people don't like with the RNG is when their good input doesn't get rewarded. Like, I don't think people really mind as much of the occasional weird bloops. They don't mind the occasional weird things that happen that help other people when they feel they're getting rewarded at the plate, right? It's like if you have a chance to make up for that type of thing yourself and get rewarded for it, then I think people don't mind all the chaos of the game because that's a part of it. It can easily happen both sides. I think that's where people's main complaints about gameplay reside, is the inconsistency on them getting rewarded. Like if I'm putting up a good swing, I should get rewarded for that more times than not. And sometimes it feels like you hop into a game, one game, and it goes really well in your favor. Then the next time around, nothing goes for you at all and everything is against you. And I think the inconsistency, it's tough to quantify. And I think people would like more consistent reward output for good input. I think that's where a lot of people's problems reside with the game personally. But overall, I do agree with this take. I think in terms of esports and such, I think it definitely is at this current moment. I mean, again, there's more to be added, more to be fixed and improved upon. There's a reason that the best couple players have been doing the best in those circuits. So I think there's room to improve, but I think that gameplay is pretty solid. All right, we're gonna end it with this one. Majestic Greens is the best stadium. Rarely does the better player lose because of fluky homers and outcomes. No new legend should be added until they add Negro League players Paige, Gibson, Charleston, Dehiko are more important than Jeter and Bonds. Here's the thing that's tough about this. We'll talk about the first one. Majestic Green's best stadium. That's the first time I ever heard that in my life. I do not play there much at all, and I feel like I haven't enjoyed ever playing there, but that could just be me. In terms of the second part, in terms of legends in MLB The Show, I think that there's some problems with this. I would presume that these Negro League players would have been added in the game if they could. There's always a weird finicky process with adding players' rights. I think for the history of the game, I think they are definitely important. I think if they could be added, they would have been. And there might be problems with obtaining their rights from the people who have their rights. And that might be something that might be easier said than done. Jeter's one thing as well. Thing is with Derek Jeter, the dude was the face of the game, of any sports game really in the 2000s. And I feel like that would be someone that could genuinely get people on board with buying the game. Guys like Barry Bonds are tough because he's also very controversial. Jeter's also pretty controversial at this point in his career, but that's a whole other topic. So I don't know how I feel about the first part of this take and second part of this take. I don't know. Legends are finicky. That's all I got to say. It's a finicky process, I think. In an ideal world, they'd have everyone, but of course they do not. So yeah, those are the hot takes of MLB The Show 22. Let me know how you guys feel about videos like this where we discuss MLB The Show, give our thoughts, and discuss our opinions on the game. And if you want to add more to the tweet, I'll link it down below. If you want to get your comments in there, make sure to keep an eye out on those. And we'll definitely be doing stuff like this later on in the year where I ask your opinions on stuff on Twitter, on YouTube community polls and all that. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that down the road. But I appreciate you all watching. Like this video if you enjoyed. And again, make sure you sub. We're on our way to 20K, baby. And I'll see you all again on the next video tomorrow. Deuces.